Today, we're looking back at the 2018-19 WEC Super Season. This is Triple Crown Racing. Let's get into it. Audi have pulled out of the World Endurance Championship for next year. Should we reconsider the regulations for the coming years?
We still have Porsche and Toyota. Let us go and buy a baguette and some escargot.
And that was pretty much the biggest mistake the WEC has ever made. The FIA, the ACO, and pretty much everyone else thought that Audi was too important to endurance racing, and that endurance racing was too important to Audi for them to leave the sport. After all, they've developed their precious TDI race engines at Le Mans and in the WEC. And yet, they did. But surely the most successful manufacturer in endurance racing history wouldn't leave the sport. Well, 1 year later, the WEC was caught off guard once again, and Porsche followed suit. With only one factory team left in the LMP1 class for the 2018-19 WEC Super Season, it went exactly as well as you would have expected. Not well at all. For this video, I'll be reviewing this past season of WEC racing by class, and we start with LMP1. LMP1 managed the impossible this season. It was actually more predictable than the past few years of Formula 1. It wasn't that anyone was struggling to compete with Toyota, it was just that it was impossible for anyone to compete in general. Toyota Gazoo Racing had a star-studded lineup of drivers. The number 8 car was manned by Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima, and Spanish deity himself, Fernando Alonso. The number 7 car's lineup wasn't bad either, with Kamui Kobayashi, Mike Conway, and Jose Maria Lopez taking the driving duties. However, Toyota's ace of spades was their car, the new and improved TSO 50. Most importantly, however, was the fact that the Toyotas had a hybrid power plant and no one else did. Despite the fact that LMP1 had 3 endurance juggernauts and 2 not-so-juggernauts join the field, and had some incredible drivers on their lineup such as Jenson Button, Stoffel Van Dorn, Bruno Senna, Brendan Hartley, Gustavo Menezes, Renger van der Zande, and so on, the fact of the matter was, while they all had fast cars, they simply couldn't compete with that hybrid system. As a result, both Le Mans were completely dominated by Toyota, as were most of the other races. The privateer cars would occasionally battle with each other, however, it was mainly just the Toyota and Alonso show, while the rest of the privateer teams either beat each other in the strategy game or their hastily built cars broke down. The WEC should have seen the writing on the wall when Audi left, and perhaps should have taken inspiration from the American Daytona Prototype International formula. However, the ACO failed to just swallow their pride, and once again, the top class of international sports car racing is in danger once again. So I rate the LMP1 class from this season at 4 out of 10. It scored points for the privateer cars actually existing at all, the all-star driver lineups, Sebring being very, very good, bringing new fans to the series, and Toyota finally breaking their curse. It lost points for wasting more than a year and a half of everyone's lives, the ACO not admitting the fact that the Americans actually came up with a good idea, and for being very, very boring. LMP2 was the best out of the 2 prototype classes in the WEC this season. It was a season-long battle between Signatech Alpine and Jackie Chan DC Racing, with some Dragon Speed thrown in there for substance. In terms of on-track action, it delivered some pretty good racing. Rather unfortunately, I think, we weren't able to appreciate the LMP2 action from this season because we were all so distracted by the fact that there was an appalling lack of action in LMP1. LMP2 also had quite a star-studded driver lineup. We had a few new faces joining the LMP2 field for this season, including Pastor Maldonado, Guido van der Gaard, Nick de Vries, Anthony Davidson, and Will Stevens, and with an influx of new fans, names from other series, particularly Formula 1, are no bad thing. I'll give this season of WEC LMP2 action a solid 7 out of 10. LMP2 wasn't spectacular by any means, however it still managed to deliver some interesting action. Needless to say, GTE Pro was the saving grace of the WEC this season. Over the years, people have questioned balance of performance as a concept. This season of GTE Pro racing has most likely put an end to any question of the sort. The on-track action throughout the season was unbelievable, and we were treated to hours of door-to-door action. These incredible cars were able to compete on an equal playing field thanks to the BOP system. Porsche proved themselves to be the class act of the field, however it wasn't without stiff competition. This is probably going to be a very short review of the GTE Pro class, because all in all, it was the best of the 4 classes this season, and I believe it deserves a 10 out of 10. Absolutely superb. GTE Am was arguably as good as GTE Pro. After all, it is practically the same formula but with slightly older cars. However, the category in this season didn't get nearly as much coverage as GTE Pro. The action was really good when we actually saw it. Honestly, I wouldn't mind a championship where it was just GTE Pro and Am cars. Much like GTE Pro, Porsche was also the class act of the Am field, with Project One and Dempsey Proton taking 5 and 3 wins respectively. Between them, they won 7 out of the 8 races this season. That being said, the likes of Aston Martin Racing and TF Sport were still able to compete with them. I'll give GTE Am an 8 out of 10. Not quite as exciting as GTE Pro and wasn't covered nearly enough, but it still managed to put on an excellent show. So what's my final thought on this season of WEC racing? The influx of new fans coming to the series is really positive for sports car racing. However, I feel that some fans may have been turned away by the lack of action in LMP1, the fact that the WEC's top class was such a disappointment, and if the hypercar regulations don't work out, the WEC might go the way of the World Sports Car Championship, the Dodo, the Dinosaurs, and FOM's understanding of fair use. However, I'm sure some of the F1 fans, particularly Spaniards, didn't mind watching Fernando Alonso winning all the time. Hopefully next season, with Ginetta joining the field, things will be better for the WEC's top class. LMP2 is still doing a very good job. Out of the 2 prototype classes, it has by far been the best in the past couple of years. Hopefully we'll see more of a rivalry between Alpine and Jackie Chan next season, and I'm looking forward to see how United Autosport and Team Nederland factor in with their new Oreca chassis. With all that being said about LMP1, the WEC really redeemed itself with GTE Pro, which, this season at least, has produced some of the most exciting racing I've seen probably since 90s BTCC. Not that I was around for that, but still. I am a little concerned that BMW and Ford are leaving the grid, that maybe the class just might turn into a Porsche domination, but I'm sure even the ACO can't ruin a formula this good. As for GTE Am, I would have liked to see some more coverage of it. The category produces some really great racing, and while it is overshadowed by its professional, star-studded brother, it deserves to be recognised. Keep up the good work, GTE Am. Was this a good season? Well, in LMP1, no. But looking through the rest of the field, I'll say thank you for not wasting my time. So this has been the 2018-19 WEC season review, created in collaboration with @FinnickArrow on Instagram. Check out his page in the description below. He does incredible graphic designs and has a bright future ahead of him in motorsport. I've been Jack McKenzie on Triple Crown Racing. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.